we've all done time in Civvy Street as well, more time in Civvy Street than the Army, for most of us. And we've made mistakes. I'm going to share some of those with you. Some of them nearly killed us, some of them didn't. I haven't killed anybody that I'm aware of, and I'm not sure Richard's the same. But any aircraft maintenance engineer who says he doesn't make a mistake, a serious one, is kidding himself. So I put together a series of slides. I've got it checked by the brothers, and we go through the family. Oldest first, to the best looking. The one with least hair and everything else. And so we treat each person as an individual, and we look at their military service, any medals, any rank they got, where they worked, both civilian and military, any significant events, and they're not all nice events, of course. My father was in the Second World War, active, not in Reilly at that time. Richard and Bill have both seen active service. Prime Minister gone by 6 months in Malaysia. Sad. I've got other things, but I have to go to hospital for those, so that's all right. So, but we've all done, between us, about 142 years in one family, which I think is probably worth saying something about. Absolutely. So we go through a series of slides, and the first one is, can I just ask, who's ex-military? Just a quick. Okay, so don't get offended with the next slide, right? Because, you know, us military types can be a bit offended by some small things. Not the intention, it's to have a bit of a rib, that's all. Lest we forget. First aeroplane in the British military was an army machine, serial number 1. Back to the map. So I'm going on Wikipedia here, I'm trusted implicitly.
Oh, good.
And then there's a series of typical gestation periods. A few years later, we get the balloon section, again, Army. Royal Flying Corps, still really sort of Army. Then somebody wakes up. The Air Arm get in there first. Then the Royal Air Force is established from the above. But the interesting thing down here is 1941. Glider Pilot Regiment, I'm sure you all know this, you might not know the exact dates, regains an element in the flying world. And then the regiment is formed into the Army Air Corps, it's part of the Army Air Corps. Army Air Corps number 1, first version, is disbanded. Number 2 is reformed, not that long. Given we've got politicians involved, it's a quite short life cycle. They saw some merit in it, obviously, or somebody up in command saw some merit in it. So let's go through the family. There's Dad, BM, British Empire Medal, there's many others as well, deceased. William, number 1 son, lives in Louisiana in the bayous, runs a small bed and breakfast and a kayaking, new ventures, a kayaking business. If you want to go on a good bed and breakfast, I've stayed there. I'll give you his number afterwards, he'd certainly appreciate the business. Mind you, bullshit's like me, so you've got to be careful that you don't get sucked in. He's older and uglier too, what can I tell you. Then we've got Richard at the back. Semi-retired, is that correct? Would you say that right? Semi-retired?
Yeah, I'm trying to make it more retired, but semi at this stage, yeah.
Still on the board of at least one company that I'm aware of, a helicopter company, so we all ended up gravitating in some ways through the cycle. Helicopters, fixed wing, back to helicopters. And there's me, the youngest, most good-looking, the most virile, tribute that pastor. GM, General Manager. Don't be fooled by that. There's me in this place. So it's proprietary business. But between us, we've got about 142 years of aviation experience. We didn't count all the previous stuff, heavy vehicles, etc. And for those who don't know, that's the RAeS badge. That's the British RAeS badge, not the RAeS. Little story. You can see a horse, a bolt of lightning, a glow, and a crown. I had my dad's King's Crown RAeS badge stolen from me in Townsville when I got too inebriated, so it's my own bloody fault. And that had a King's Crown on it, and it was brass, so you have to polish it. These days, of course, that's stay by. So we worked like horses in RAeS at the speed of lightning, and to crown it all, we dropped a bollock. And as I said before, if you haven't, you're lying to yourself. Simple as that. Where did Dad start? Queen's Royal Regiment. He joined the army before the outbreak of war. Bill, RAeS, vehicles, light and heavy, so tanks, tank recovery vehicles, into the business, pretty heavy stuff. Young Richard at the back there, radio, the only guy, well no, of course Dad didn't join us ring me. Royal Army Service Corps driver, radio operator. Whizzing around Germany with bloody Jupps behind him. Stopping at the odd pub, just to make sure the Russians didn't know where he was. He thought it was good fun, I imagine it would frighten the crap out of most people, but still. And me, Remy, started at heavy guns, 25 pounders and above. And we all ended up somewhere else. Okay, this is where we went. Oh, crap, we didn't actually cycle through. Never mind, I spent hours making those dots appear. There's Dad, red, and you'll see Africa, South Africa. The one between North and South America, we'll come to shortly. Again, Aden, and the red dot up there is near Abu Dhabi somewhere. But of course, Germany and UK. Little green dot on the top of Ireland, that's Richard in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. Bill, you see where he's ended up. He did work in the Gulf of Mexico as well. Worked in the Middle East a bit. Some interesting stories I'm going to share with you about some of the things he got up to there. Not of a sexual nature, but he was just a bit of a rebel, still is. And of course, our region gets a fair hammering from Richard and I, because we've been here for 40 over years. And these little mauve dot. And a lot of those dots for me have been since I got made redundant for the third time and went out from our own. It was much more impressive when the dots appeared. So, let's have a look at that. The nickname in brackets will explain for each person as we go through. Dad's responsible for his son's nicknames. He's not responsible for his own. They started off in the Caterham Motor Company, yes, the same Caterham Motor Company that drives race cars today. And I actually went past it on that holiday we did some years ago. It's still quite unique and just very, very interesting place. Got to Staff Sergeant in Aden, or acting Staff Sergeant, couldn't get full rank because he had a mental block on maths for some reason. Is that right? I seem to recall that was the reason. And therefore he couldn't pass his first class education, so therefore he couldn't go up. Military medals, there's just too many to show on one slide. Most of us, the two other brothers, get it's all on one slide. But we're very proud of Dad's medals. Richard is the custodian of them now. So you can see two lots of military service. And the interesting thing about that is that, of course, he got a military number when he first went in. They wouldn't allow him to use that same military number on the second visit. So on his memorial plaque at Little Wallet, there's the two military numbers. But he's not alone on that, but he's one of those few. And there they are. British Empire medal. Some Second World War medals. Home defence after the war. General service medal. And that's the one that shocked me, the one in Malaysia. And until I did this exercise, there were things that I didn't know about my own immediate family, just amazing. And that one came as a bit of a shock. South Arabia didn't, because I knew he was in Aden, and long service and good conduct. I don't know good conduct, because he's a Jupp, I can't really explain that. So, where did Uncle serve? I'm not going to read these out, but you will see as he transitions through those early years before and during the war, moves around, and then you'll see the Remy bit come in, just here. That's his first Remy deployment in Singapore, Malaysia, which is again a bit of an eye-opener for me. But I've jumped back up once the next ones are scrolling up to the Edinburgh Castle troop ship to Cape Town. That ship was actually torpedoed and sunk off the coast, but he survived. He was on there as one of the gunners, we think, with one of a quick bolt-on gun. So who's volunteering for that? You? Okay, Mr. Jupp, off you go. Nearly didn't make it. The other interesting one here is 57 to 61. He was on the #1 aircraft mechanics, they called them their course at Little Wallet, when the Army Air Corps was reinstituted, which explains a lot. At that point, again, a bit of news to me, it was still a RAF base. It's what it is now, it's paddocks, is it? No, the museum's still there. They still do some flying there. paid independent recce flight in Kenya during the Mau Mau times. Nasty place. You'd sleep with your gun, even in your own home. You don't grab poles as they come through the window at you to pick up your wallet or your gun, because they've got laser plates on. Just go for your gun and shoot the window.
Don't tell me, I know.
Wildenrath is where some paths meet and cross, and quite often you'll see this. Richard was at Wildenrath, still in his Royal Army Service Corps hat. I joined the British military in Wildenrath with my $5, 5 shillings, sorry. Did some work down in the hangar. Got to Carlisle to do my boy training. The buggers took the money off me. Said, you've been paid, you're not entitled. I said, I was working on it. And somehow it caught up with me. Pay officer's very good, catches up with you. Then we got tailing off 74 aircraft workshops in Aden. Nasty place, and it's still nasty today, as we all know. Never going to get good, so. And then finally, last stint in Middle Wallop again at 70 aircraft workshops. Now, I recall correctly, this was another crossing of paths. Richard, myself and Dad were Middle Wallop at different squadrons, and one guard duty roster came up, and it was Sergeant Jupp and Corporal Jupp. Have a guess which Corporal Jupp turned up? None of the above. And you think we weren't in the shit? Not good, not good. So,
What did the Army Air Corps operate in the way of aeroplanes?
we'll show you that. It's quite a raft of from gliders early on, which I don't show because it's not in my time. But right up to today, very, very sophisticated. As you can see on the news, I was actually in demonstration and trial squad, which was trialling anything new that came out. And I missed the introduction of the Lynx, I think. Lynx or the one before that. Anything that they can convince the politicians to buy. So there's the old man, and that's his final place where he lived, the old mission, I think. Was that 1871, that building? So he got his name from his nickname, whilst he was in Singapore that first time. And Asians are like this. I was married to an Asian, so I know, and particularly the guys, they like to give you a nickname because they can't like say your English name. But I know that feeling because it works the other way. So Uncle was Uncle, and he's always been Uncle. His wife always calls him Uncle. And it's just one of those things. I don't think we're allowed to, but it's not here now, so we get away with it. He got it through assembling Land Rovers, and he gets a bit of a whiz thing happening. He runs the workshop. I don't know why they're assembling them. Why they just roll off the ship, I don't know. But then later on in life, he becomes the beaver guru. And also then he goes back to his Land Rover days, which I'll show you shortly. Whilst he's on one of these couple of expeditions that he gets to London. He must have volunteered for it. No one tells me to do that. Oof. Okay, so civil aviation, what did Dad do? He's, again, news to me. He's at this service air, which is no longer. It got absorbed in 2013, apparently, into Swissport. Never heard of them either. Some 55,000 employees around the world doing pushbacks and revisiting and all the rest of it. But whilst he was at Stansted and Manchester Airport, he was designing, building and maintaining some of this basic ground support equipment. People haven't got it yet. Some of it was all, how do I get up there? What's the best way? Someone has to build the first one. That's what he was building.
And just something that came to me, which while he was there, he was converting mighty Antar tank transporters to aircraft tugs.
Oh, seriously, okay.
Yeah, and they used them for the bigger commercial aircraft.
Yeah, so he's very talented, or was very talented. Well, as are his sons, of course. And interesting events. As I said to you when I started, they're not all nice. But Mum wanted that one mentioned. He was one of the very first guys to go into Belsen concentration camp, and I think it affected him forever. There you go. Second one, he attended the #1 aircraft mechanics course, as it was called, run by Renu. The Blue Nile, there's a little map. I figured it was near the Nile, but I didn't know until I actually looked at the map. So what was that? That was some Army Air Corps major or something.
Yeah, Summit and Rainer, Major Summit and Rainer.
He'd go off on these expeditions, but then he'd use them as exercises for exercising the troops in logistics and moving around. So they tracked the Blue Nile from that Lake Tana, down to Khartoum. very famous place. And the old man was in the RAeS support team, Army Air Corps team, following them around, making them cups of tea in the afternoon. It's amazing. He won the Hutchinson's Trophy for flight safety, and it isn't that trophy that he's holding, but that's the only photo I could find with him holding a trophy. That looks to me like something he might have got in Vilna for something. But he developed a tool control system in the days when all you had to do was close tools and walk away with it. He said, no, that's not good enough. Let's have a flyaway kit with each helicopter, and each helicopter would have this, 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 and this. And if it didn't have this, 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 and this, and you didn't sign the daily or the turnaround out, it saved my life in Malaya.
Oh.
Because I was doing a job, I left my torch from the kit up in the flight controls, buttoned it up, was about to go on an air test, couldn't find the torch. So I couldn't go. And then I found it. And the Trans-American tour. Remember those dots? There was a dot between North and South America. So he's about to leave the British Army, but he gets conned into another one. So this same guy, Sergeant Moreno, decides he's going to take the new Land Rovers from Alaska down to Tierra del Fuego, Highway 1. And coming through the Darien Gap, there's a nasty piece of jungle. No one's built a road to my knowledge. And these new Land Rovers couldn't do it. So he was sent off back into the nearest town to get something to pull the Land Rovers out of the crap, literally. What did he come back with? World War II Land Rover. And did it.
They were there supporting the beavers flying down from the
right.
north.
And you won't see that in any of the docos or the books that are written, because that's insider trading knowledge and he's not going to get to that. So, now we transition over to a little movie.
Cafe News, yes.
Is my dad.
Ah.
Opening the door for the officers at John Games at Blue.
For those of you that don't know, they had fabric-covered wooden main rotor blades with cartridge start ignition for the Gypsy Major, and they were swines of things. Swines of things.
So they had a Gypsy Major as a power plant.
Yep.
Inverted Gypsy Major.
Yep.
4 belts, 5 belts, 6, not a lot. And they didn't stay on there very long. So you'd be getting pretty good at order rotation, I think. Again, news to me that my dad, I found that by accident. I was trolling the internet trying to find Gordon Jupp. I found a Cathay News thing about the helicopters, but there's only a few seconds of frame. I mean, it's just amazing. And the fact that someone was opening the door is not wrong. It's interesting. Okay, now.
If I remember rightly, they flew alouettes at Kenya.
They did.
Yes, they
Alouettes and beavers.
See the
Yep.
photograph
Yep.
coming up
Yeah,
of
that's right.
the
Yep.
counting the elephants. Mike knows Sarah's dad, mate. Well, we're not going to go there. One, he can't stand up for himself, and two, we've got more than enough to share around between the 3 brothers. And we do. We put him on a high pedestal. But I'm sure he made some. No box I like. There's a rat peeing in the corner of it on that one. We got a few photographs. Black berets, you know this. Well, Richard is currently still there in the Royal Army Service Corps. Still Horace, private. Dad's somehow made out to sergeant. Still with a black beret. I'm pretty sure that's filled enough.
It is building up there. Yeah.
And that's my little quirk there. The ignition lead, it's a wasp, my dear thing. You take those engines down, bulk strip them, just off the manual, put them back together, put some new gaskets in, hone the cylinders and put them back in before all the BS start to get involved. Some of you will no doubt recognise the background. This is around the Aden area, Western Scout, the Mighty Beaver. 5-passenger Beaver, Scout. Used to be able to do an engine change on those in the jungle clearing in about 4 hours without being under fire. But they were designed for quick change. They needed to be because at that point they were failing between flights. You do it daily, and you do a turnaround, and you go down, look down the back end, 3 turbines fine, you come back. If you're lucky, you come back. If you're not, I've actually seen one myself on a turnaround in Malacca, where the blade's 3/4 of the way broken off. And I think the next starter would have come off. And they generally, of course, don't go any which way but down and cut the tail over the time. Nasty bits of work. They finally got Rolls Royce, they finally got back together. Now take a close look at what's in Dad's pocket. Any guesses? I don't know how clear that is.
Yeah, it's a 9mm Browning.
Now, today we talk about human factors and stress and all the rest of it. They've blown the prop seal, obviously shit gone everywhere. They've landed at a remotest strip, and the locals there are not happy jam. They just don't want these British guys around. They're smiling, for crying out loud. And out of picture, but in the big picture that I've got, there's guys figuring out which way the rifle you point at these guys. That's stress. And yet it's just water off the duck's back. And they nearly caused an international incident, according to the notes I got from Mum, because it shouldn't be there. Well, there you go. The airplanes let go on you. You don't think you did that intentionally. Politicians. So this is Kenya. This is 8th Independent Recce flight. Now, this is one of Richard's grandchildren reckons that's Dad. I'm not going to argue. I could never figure out which one of those he was, but he's in there somewhere. Now that's a little rhino. I wouldn't want him poking me. And the elephant there would certainly not be running against the beaver too well. So they were actually in a process of, I think, counting the elephants as some sort of exercise. I think Alouette 2's mighty machine. If you like the name over here. There's Dad Richard and his son Daniel. When was that? 91. Okay, Dad's come across from my daughter's wedding. It's at Jamicott Airport. Not grey yet, but certainly minus a lot of hair. That's me. And we took him out to Max in little strip.
Max Horsecraft?
Max Horse.
Strip down there. Max was still alive in a barbecue down there. Dad was in heaven. There's this guy doing what he wanted to do. He flew down there actually. And I didn't realise it. Dad had worked on the Skeeter. I thought I was the only Jupp that worked on the Skeeter because for demonstration of trial squadron, the OC wanted one to fly for his mates. We found one. We found a set of blades in Aden still, a reasonable engine, blah 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 blah. So I got it outside the hangar at Middle Wallop, and we could find the latest or the least non-current pilot. I said, do not hover, do not take off, just start it and run that engine, let's see, I've got to go back in and get the tour. Sure enough, I reached the hangar doors, cranks it up, there's panels flapping all over the bloody place. Yes. I wouldn't say it was a nice machine, but certainly the main rotor head, the lead lag dampers alone, you'd spend days getting those right. One flight later, they're wrong again. Okay, both sergeants, Boris and Uncle. Yes, exactly what I thought. Where's your happy child? Surprised he actually let me get away with it.
Pretty slack then.
Now we come on to son number 1. Wolf. William Albert Gordon Jupp. Who's going to be the recipient of the video. A little bit short of military service, made the somewhat dodgy rank of corporal. But he got a medal, long service, and basically for Aden again. But he wore the t-shirt, not me, and it says, danger, mouth operates faster than brain, which is probably about right. Now he's not pointing at wife number 4 there, he's actually just pointing over his house, I think. He's in the slow learner brigade where it comes to wives. Good on you, Bill. Where did he serve? He laid his out slightly differently. So he started off in Rieming, and then he was in primarily Germany, in the military, yeah. And you'll see the, I don't know, are they Air Force squadrons, those German ones, or are they just heavy vehicles?
Which 12 flight workshops or the who's?
63, 65, I think that's Date's one then. Yeah. Anyway, the next one down isn't.
That's Hussars. That's a armour corps support. Yeah.
Yeah, so the LAD for the aircraft squadron at Detmold is Rieming, so, and the dates would make sense with his training as well. And then in Aden, 74 aircraft workshops where that was as well. I'm not sure if they're exactly the same time.
They were. I think they were.
Oops, sorry. So why wolf? Well, you'll see a repeating habit here. The old man used to like these comics, bit of light relief, quite cheap. So in this one, well, it says here I've done some questionable research. That's not very nice. Oh, I wrote that. Children's magazines. Ooh, hang on. There's some too many things. Yeah, so each one of his sons has a nickname from one of these types of comics, but it's appropriate for the son. So he's a lone wolf. He's going out there. He's going to get a shit stirrer, and he's a womanizer. But other than that, it's pretty. That's wolf, I'm not sure. Silly Street. Now, we're only talking aviation. Bill ended up before he actually semi-retired in heavy vehicles again. Big cranes and the like in the US. But helicopter mad. Now you reckon the only difference between maintaining a sky crane and a Bell 47 is the size of the hammer and screwdriver you use.
I take it he was working on a fixed wing at Dania, was it?
No, all helicopters.
Oh, okay.
So I'm told. The interesting story about Iran was, of course, it's in the Shah's time. So the West was still welcome at that point, although he wasn't after much. I'll show you why. Business events. There's an Iranian note and a hand grenade. What the hell have they got to do with anything? So keep in mind, this is not coming from my memory, this is coming from the individuals. So this is a tracing version. So the high altitude air test in Aden, high altitude for British Army and a helicopter is 10,000 feet. But you get a parachute, you get one. You don't actually get told how to use it. Why do you want to do that? You might pull something. You're either sitting on it or it's on your back. And in the Scout we do a 5-second pull-up to see if it goes out at altitude. Normally you do it at altitude. It goes out, you auto-rotate. This is what they had to do. The trouble is they got in a down drop down the side of the gully, and it wasn't until about 1,500 feet, and the pucker valves were working serious amounts of overtime, and it pulled out of it. So that was one of his interesting events. I imagine that would have stayed with him for a while. The hand grenade, interesting thing with British Army aircraft mechanics, technicians. We're first soldiers, we're second technicians. So when you join a unit or a workshop, you go on patrol. You know, it's not a choice thing, it's just what you have to do. So he's hooning around Aden Harbour in a Land Rover, and they come up to the wharf, and there's this old wizened Arab trying to sling this grenade up into this empty boat. I don't know why he wanted to do that, but he was trying hard, failing miserably because it was a long way up to the empty. But he hadn't brought the pin on it. So he kept coming down, grabbing it, and they watched it for a while, and they said, no, we better stop him because he might figure out the pin's not in soon. This is the bit I don't understand. He says, Bill says, he then sat this guy on the back of the Land Rover, made him hold the grenade all the way around town to finish the patrol, then they handed him in to police. I'm thinking, that ain't logical. Give me the grenade, thank you. However, Ferried an Alouette 3 from Red Hill to Iran, nearly killed himself again. Helicopters have a propensity to try and kill Jupps, I'm not sure why, but it shouldn't be. He's coming up a valley somewhere in France when he shouldn't have been. He was going nowhere but nowhere. You know that classic. They put it down in the clearing. Oh shit, good job we did that. So there ain't much more of a valley to go. They waited for the weather to clear and then got over the hill. He reckons he flew over that Mount Ararat. So he's in that sort of area coming down towards. Found another, I think, wife number 2 in somewhere in that region. Not a local, a European. Okay, why was he asked to leave Iran? Well, that's the note. It beggars belief, but in the mess, because it's that sort of country, but the white fellas allowed to drink. He put that on the, he says, on the dartboard. And the bet was whoever could get the Shah's nose had 3 beers for the night. Silly. Someone found out, dogged him in, and he was basically asked to leave in a moment. Very classic story. Rather than throwing jail, it's a very good idea. Now, mistakes. Lost tools under fire. Well, there's a classic Western Scout. Fuel tank is just behind that step you see on the side and under the back seat. Like all fuel cells, they're not really meant to come out easy. Whoever thought that? This is supposed to be a bulletproof tank. Wrong. Enough bullets in it will cause it to leak. So they're out in the middle of in Aden somewhere. So they send him up the hellhole because he's the smallest. So you've got to come under the back skids, up and in, take out a tank. You've probably got residual after coming all over you. Just about done, and they then start to catch fire. Not catch fire. They're being shot at by the local RAeS, who weren't good shots as it turns out. So finished up, back up, put some fuel in, didn't worry about checking the leaks, get out of here. Oh, that's my course. Good. Okay, we got more. So that's the one he admits to. This is a classic one. He anti-locked some flying controls on the machine in front of us here. And had a bad dream about it. We've done that. We left a rigging pin in a Cessna something or other at Janigot Airport. And we were both living at Byford and we had to drive back in early because we were damn sure, well we actually weren't sure. And that was the problem. We knew if we left it in, it went like that, it was going to break something. So that's not what I wanted to admitting to, but we'll apply it on the
Well, we corrected it.
So 1971, and he went back in, fixed up his problem and everything was happy. But it just weighs on your mind when you know you've done it. It's not a good feeling. The chances of actually doing anything in that instance are pretty remote, but you know, there's a chance. There's Brother Bill, in Dallas. I was out there when I was with Pearl Aviation. We were chasing an engine overhaul shop for a JD-15 event that they admitted to in writing, and then when it went to their lawyers, God bless their composites, they sort of started to get a bit defensive because we didn't want anything but the repair bill paid. We knew we couldn't have a go at them for lost revenue and all the rest of it, or the recovery. No, we just wanted the repair bill paid because it was a substantial amount. It was seized on startup, luckily. They're brazen or something. So Bill met up with me. He's on wife number 3 here at this point. I think he must be, how can I put this delicately, pretty good in bed. I'm not pretty without.
Well, pretty bad.
Anyone ever refueled anything with a flimsy? You know it's not easy. And being that high, that's definitely not easy. So he's in the Middle East somewhere. And that would be a sizable fuel tank, I'd imagine. So there'd be a fair number of those you've got to hoik over your head. And that's the Alouette 3 that he was the flight crew on. I suppose that's the other thing about helicopters and fixed wing, which I'm sure Richard would agree. Whether you're civil or military, you tend to be much closer to the flying crew than you are fixed wing. Because in the army, if you are out on patrol with a helicopter, you're probably the gunner as well. And the mechanic. That's just a secondary thing. You remember I said before, first up, you're a soldier. So if he needs a gun in the back, and you happen to know how to fire a GPMG that happens to be in the back, then you're it. And then you'll fix it later on. So, and it's the same in City Street. You've got that much higher degree of bonding with the flight crew, I think, just because of what you do. And because they're intrinsically more dangerous, of course, it's more moving bits. Now, I don't know what this is. The helicopter, that is. It's a Bell something. So anyone guesses? I was hoping to. Is it a...
That's Umbrella Jet Ranger, isn't it?
No, too big.
212.
Looks a bit like the RAeS rescue helicopter, doesn't it? Looks like
So,
Yeah, that's a 4-1.
That's a 4-1 too. This is says it's
I think that is a 212. Yeah.
212?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with 212. Obviously damn hot if I'm just loafing around in the shade. I'm not sure what that to do. It doesn't look like him. Red Hill. So remember he's going from Red Hill to Iran. I'm just having a go at people that wear dust coats. I got accused. I was on visiting somebody in Adelaide, and I've got a clipboard because I'm auditing. The auditors, you always tell when auditors have got clipboards and they're running around making an ass of themselves. Somebody has to. So. Now, he scrubs up pretty well as the old guy, but the reason I included this photo, which he sent me, I want to show you the young American sergeant, staff sergeant with him. Look at the medals on this guy. Remember what my dad got? For real, you know, he gets one of these every time he has a nosebleed, I think. So it belittles the process, I think, in my opinion.
They all reckon that the Brits don't get rewarded enough.
We do.
No,
We serve Queen and Country.
just talk to the Yanks, they'll tell you. No, they don't give them near enough.
You go to some of the military hospitals in the States that these guys have to come back to. You tell me that again, well, shocking, particularly after the Vietnam War. And today's not greatly different in some respects. Now, Horace, Richard. Now, historically, because he's here to defend himself, I've got to be careful, he's a pretty good thrower of broad softball. You could call him Dick. Richard.
Oh, you
Then there was
can't.
a phase when you weren't allowed to call him Dick because he was the general manager.
That's because I came to Australia and the connotations were somewhat different.
And now he's retired, you can call him Dick again. So you can call him whatever you like, but there he is. Dad called him Horace. He made the dizzy heights of sergeant. Well, that's a good looking Dick, isn't it? If I may say so. And that's the Troubles, Northern Ireland. Probably one of the nastiest places because you can't look at the other guys and figure out whether they're friend or foe. If they've got a dustbin lid and they're banging the dustbin, they're probably not friendly.
Before you get rid of that one, it always intrigued me. Was she? Are we talking about when the Queen's in?
Yes, yes, the same medal.
She's got a king's crown on.
Is she really?
Yes, she has. Yeah,
When
that's
did you- I
true.
didn't notice that.
That is true.
Why?
I don't know
You
why.
don't know why?
I don't know why, but it is true.
Oh, I'm not asleep. Impressed. I just linger a bit more on Richard.
Don't linger. Pass on.
I
Move
don't know
on.
why he married him, perhaps, I don't know why. Oh, no, yes, I do actually. Where did he serve? His illustrious Queen. Northern Ireland. Of course, some training here. Well, this is UK, including Northern Ireland. So when he gets into Remy, first posting is a bit more logical when he comes to Germany. This is interesting. I didn't actually know this, and I knew he mucked around the army here, but I didn't realise he was actually Remy. He's the army barley one out of a lot, basically. Loved it. Loved the parades. I think camaraderie and the working with people with the same mindset. Okay, so why Horace? In Beano, there's a guy called Hungry Horace. And this is the slim version. There was a time when he wasn't quite so svelte. And he liked his food. We all like our food.
Big tons, sixes.
Bit of a helicopter flavour when he first came out to Australia. So you left the British Army and then came out to Australia straight away, basically?
Yep.
Bit of a story there about Barnbura Downs, which we'll come to. A long period of time with a company that changed names more than some people change their underwear. Australian Aviation, Skywest Airlines, Skywest Aviation, Royal Aviation. That's one stab at it, and you'll see when I was with them, I did it in 2 bites. I had a 7-year period and a 19-year period. Richard started off as a aircraft maintenance engineer at Jandakot Airport. We were working together, and then he ended up as the general manager until it closed down. Then he went across to Helicopters Australia, and he's still currently with Helicopters Australia. Helicopters New Zealand and the Australian branch in Ardmore. You just knocked down the facility, didn't you?
We're in the process of knocking it down. Yeah. I'm still trying to.
So therefore want their footprint back.
Yeah.
And they wanted to just take the facility off them and said, no, we'll scrap it. Good stuff. Anyone that's flown in the military context would understand things like red zone. So in Northern Ireland, he's out recovering a Sue, a Bell 47, and the RAF did what only the RAF are good at, which is punching the bloody thing off once it starts to swing too much. But then, basically a serviceable machine in the wrong spot became a lump on the ground a few seconds later. Cattle mustering in the Northern Territory, doing an engine change by himself, maybe a gearbox transmission by himself. We've got a photograph of that. And again, it's typical reaming. Nothing's going to stop him doing it. He's got this transmission that has to be changed. There's no facility. There's no tree to put your thing over, but you've got to do it. I love this one in 74. And again, I didn't know this. He spends 2 days by a cattle trough because he's down with the Bell 47 again, waiting to get rescued. What was the pilot out in all that?
He was with me.
Oh.
He was a nice bloke. Yeah.
So, 1999 we introduced quality ISO system to Pearl Aviation. It was the reason it was a flow-on from a recovery process we started in 1991, I think, or thereabouts. A marketing exercise, but it actually there are some good things that come from it. 2002, Beneath the Southern Skies, featured in. I don't know what featured in means. What does featured in mean, RJ?
It means I was interviewed for a chapter, basically. Yeah. Don't want to overstate that either.
Now, this is classic. You get behind a 402, it's not exactly a big aircraft, but it punches out fair enough. And you were talking about flight controls being crossed somewhere over here recently, just before we started. That aircraft took off with the ailerons crossed.
That's a 150. Yeah, 150. Yeah, and he taxied behind me, in all honesty, and then decided he'd just turn. He couldn't understand why this was happening to his little 150, so he decided to turn at 90 degrees and off it went. I had the 402 on full power at that stage. So.
See the hangar behind, Royal Flying Doctor? Just over here to the left, this was on my first tour up there, I think. I'm doing an engine store. I'm checking a magneto because I thought the impulse cut thing wasn't working. It actually was, the bugger started on me. Okay. No one saw that either, did they? No, okay. I get in, and I'm watching. Royal Flying Doctor, pilot pushes that right-hand door over too far and collapses on the aircraft. And you see just slow motion, just went in slow motion. Oh, get out of the way, because you're not going to stop it.
Was that Port Hedland?
Port Hedland, yeah.
Harold Dix told me about that.
Yeah.
He told me about the fella who'd taken the plates off the top.
Yeah.
And it fell on the barren and locked the wing just out.
Did a good job on it. And it was just, imagine the feelings you'd be going through, because there's nothing you can do to stop this bloody thing. It's nothing. Just happened to fall that way, not this way. Now, some photos. of the Aero Commander 500 actually took off with crossed aileron controls. 5 individuals that looked at this control system before it took off. The guy that did it, the guy that checked it, somebody else, the pilot, and probably somebody else. Richard was one of the above. I don't know which one. He was the guy that was in the air.
You get it back all right?
I flew in it.
You flew in it.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
in all fairness, I was responsible for it. And that's why I'm saying it's me. It wasn't me that did the work. He was brilliant. He was brilliant. He held, just powering up one engine and kicking the rudder over, and we got around. He picked it up very quickly as we got off the ground that there was a problem. So that was in Townsville.
Townsville.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like
The great Roy Chadwick was taken out by a Tudor with cross
I've seen it on a aileron trim with a rudder and the elevator trim under the elevators, to Part Navy or something or other, where the line controls fit like anywhere. Except if you put it in the wrong place, plug it in, it works the wrong way. George Jones, you probably some of the audience would know, flying it out of Janico after an engine change. Trims nose down, trims nose up. Yeah, trims it nose up a bit more, gets heavy. Help me, help
Don't
me.
do that
Don't
anymore.
do that. Okay, 26 flights, so some photos from Richard's career. There's RJ over
Far right.
here.
Yeah.
It's not showing. Oh, no, don't do that.
Slips.
He's on the harbour right there. That's in,
Verden.
I was going to say summer, but it's not summer.
It's just coming into the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually delivered from Middle Wild a Westland Scout that had Nord-guided missiles put on, and then with the demo and trial squadron would ferry them out. We logged into here, because this is a old...
It's an old German cavalry quadrangle. Yes, the stables.
There's no
It
real
used to be
approach,
stables.
we've become tight over the building.
Yeah.
And we lob in there with this Scout with no missiles on it, of course, in the middle of a nuclear, biological, chemical warfare exercise. And we didn't want to play that game because
No.
it was very crude.
We also operated skeeters there. We also operated skeeters there, and they were so underpowered in the summer that we had to literally run them across the grass, and they'd flick them up and go up those roofs on the wheels to you know, it was the original ramp that they used for the Harriers. It was it. It was, boom, off the top. Yeah.
Nasty.
Incredible. Oh, you wouldn't get me one doing that.
Come on. Yeah. So what a Scout can do, Belfry said it can do. No idea where that is, and I'm not sure what those helicopters are in the background.
There's some alouettes there. That's one of our exercises in Germany. Yeah.
Okay. So Mitch, to answer your question, and we've still got more times to come, but a mixed bag during our vintage anyway. Here he is changing the transmission, or it's either coming in or it's about to come out. Main motor's off. You use what that shed beam to jack it up on. Pull it out, did you?
Yeah, because I did a structural test of its integrity, make sure it was all right.
Obviously would. So the old Transwest Airlines
Twin Otter, yeah.
top machines. I looked after a couple in Kamanara that weren't painted that colour. Horrible hangar. Absolutely bastard of a hangar. Warms up during the day, and the setting sun's coming down in the hangar all afternoon.
Well designed.
And there he is at the Army Air Corps Training Museum in Middlewell, trying to figure out what those switches are. And anyway, I'm going to sit in that and try and break it. Some beautiful photographs here. Look at that. Now, it's all very good to fly the machine and amongst such scenery. What have you got to go in and fix the bloody thing? Horrible. You've got to watch you when you've done it up in Scotland. You've got to watch when you pick up your spanner, they don't stay stuck. It's unlike being out in the sun, which have the same effect. Now you've got them frozen to if you're not careful. We don't have these flash gloves that you can do things with, look like a racing driver. But one of Richard's photographs is brilliant. This has got to be one of the best photographs I've ever got to all time. They don't do that they don't contract anymore. But for the fire is down on the ground and the taskmasters, it's the blue tail, the red tail, the orange tail, the green tail. They really want a number, I've got a number on the side too. Don't worry about registrations, it's too small.
Yeah, we painted them that colour because they used to be all white. And if you get over the top of a fire, you've normally got the machines fly in tandem to attack the fire, and one does a drop and then the other one drops the stuff on after him. But we have another aircraft sitting over the top controlling the activities on the fire, and there'd be 4 aircraft involved in big fires. The biggest problem was they're called Helitac 1, Helitac 2, Helitac 3 from call sign point of view. But you didn't get a very good situational awareness because you had to work out which one was Helitac 1, and you were telling it to turn right because another one's sort of just to the left of it coming in through the smoke, and it was very dangerous, really dangerous. So we decided we'd paint all the tails different colours so that everybody knew, we still used Helitac 1, but everyone knew that Helitac 1 was a blue tail, etc. etc. So from the point of view of the controller over the top, he could tell who was what, who he was talking to, and which way to control them. So it worked out a big safety tick for that.
You're telling us that you didn't actually paint them so you had a good photo?
No.
No, it's a great photo.
Yeah, it was a good, yeah.
So is that 671 up the top? So you've got 68, 69, 70.
Yep.
I don't know where the numbers come from.
Well, they're the FISA vehicle identification numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now this little baby is a EC145. Actually, I did the import survey on this in Singapore for Richard's company and did some work out at Go to do some initial groundwork, some kind of hang for it, etc. This has got to be, was that at Go there?
It was Go, yeah.
Is that one still in play?
No, it's just gone back to Canada. Yeah.
Nice machines. What are these? Still working for you?
AW139s. No, they are now in. One's in Myanmar and one's in Thailand, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Where are you? Are you on the front row sitting?
I'm the fat one in the middle, as you keep saying. Yeah. So.
And those are for what, ferrying folks out?
They were on contract to Woodside on and off rigs for it was a 12-month contract.
And this baby?
That's the 109s, which are used still up in Carafa. They're used for marine pilot transfer work. Before then, we had Bell 206s, but it was very dangerous for night VFR work. It was just because you get a lot of black nights. So.
Now we come to the youngest, good lookingest, and the shortest term of time in the military. That's me in Penang with the 10th Princess Mary's Own Gurkha Rifles. They had 3 Bell 47s doing time A border patrols. So we're at the tail end of the presentation. I hope it's not boring you too much. So, why was I in Penang? I'll give you a bit of background. I met my wife in Malacca, in Kluang, which is a garrison town, and the OC didn't like me fraternising with the locals. And what I didn't know was that my wife's father was a leading political figure, unbeknownst to me. I found out later on. He was like the district officer of Malacca, which is equivalent to a mayor, I suppose. And this particular OC said, well, we've got to watch, we don't have an international incident here, so we send you off to Penang to the Gurkhas, you need to do some soldiering up anyway. Fair enough. And of course the standard training. I started off as the gunfitter, as you know, in Carlisle, then Marine training. My last posting was Demo and Trial Squadron. Very, very interesting until you come to try and fit a recoilless Swiss cannon which is not recoilless. No such animal. And you stick it out the side of the scout and you jury rig some sort of holding mechanism. We've got a dopey gunner to volunteer to fire the thing. And they're down on Salisbury Range. So first pass, he lets one go, nearly flips it. And the pilot said, well, I'll try that again. Just run out of cycle. Apparently. I'm not in it, I'm nowhere near it, I'm just back of the thing. He comes past again. So what I'll do is this. I'll say 1, 2, 3, fire now, and you let 3 rounds go, and just before I say that, I'm going to go like that, and we'll probably run the run the bullets up to the target. Still nearly flipped it. So the gunner's pretty dejected in the back, because he's on a bloody monkey arms, getting thrown around like no one's business. So he thinks he's left it safe. So he's left it on the stop so the helicopter can land, but he's left one up the spout. Helicopter lands, pilot gets out, pretty pissed off at this point. Gunner's still sitting in the back there, he's got nothing to do, he had a bit of a jolly. Pilot comes around, there's all these staff officers wanting to watch this big hoo-ha. Pilot comes along. So luckily now the gun's now pointed down on its stop into the dirt over here. This bloody pilot smacks this gun and it lets go. I'm in the gun pit at this point, long gone. It's getting dangerous, I didn't sign up for this. So why Topper? Topper magazine. He was consistent, the old man, there's no doubt about it, he was consistent. Apparently, Topper was a bit of a scoundrel. I find this extremely hard to believe. And then my daughter, God bless her, didn't like Topper, so she came up with her own mud guard.
Which is,
Shining on top, full of shit underneath. Nice one. So civilian aviation, Abu Dhabi, so straight out of the military, my first redundancy, I accepted redundancy in my corps. 3 months before we actually left, I said, oh, blah, blah, blah. Can you stay? We're bringing in new helicopters, you're just the guys. My ass, come on, straight. No thanks. Bristow Helicopters, Osborne Park. They weren't at an airport, they were just working out of the light industrial area and just figuring the aircraft out there. Not so much the big stuff, but certainly the Bell 47s and the 206s. There's West Australian Aviation again, first pass at Janicott and Port Hedland. Then I go overseas to Sabah, swap companies, Sabah Air. That's a helicopter job, this is a fixed wing job in Sabah Air looking after the Chief Minister's King Air. That's one, unbelievable piece of work. They paint stripped it using walnut paint stripper, but it must have had some mighty big chunks in it because the thing was stuck basically. It was just all over. It would have been age hardened or work hardened rather. But they painted it there. But it was so obviously ugly. Anyway, not my problem. Airflight at Janicott. Those were the days when you could come, walk down Janicott Airport if you had an experience and possibly a licence. Someone, if you needed them, you got a job. Start tomorrow, not anymore. Lloyd Helicopters in Darwin, again, my second redundancy. They lost the contract, so it's last on, first off. That was with the Bell, the four-bladed thing that used to shake itself to death.
412.
Looked good. It was like a hell of a thing to keep rigged properly, because the rubber joints will break up very quickly. Retop Services was my first company, just doing anything for anybody. Then we got Sky West again, so slightly different dates, but basically the same. I was the base engineer at Kununurra looking after 2 twin otters. Back to Port Hedland. Richard now is in Townsville, I think, at that point. Then he becomes my boss back in Perth. And the trip up to Sabah is just a marketing trip, it's sales and marketing, because I knew Sabah. It didn't come to anything. And then since 2003 I accepted my last redundancy in my working life, because I planned to make it my last redundancy, and set up my own company. And we've been all over Australia, New Zealand, sort of the dots, if you remember. Myanmar was the most interesting one. Just recently, before Christmas, I got a job to do an export survey of a VH aircraft back to New Zealand. So it was just a paperwork exercise. I thought it was at the main airport of Yangon. No. I told you it was in Burma, I didn't say Yangon. Where is it then? So I get there, it's up country, it's some Second World War airstrip where some of the helicopters probably were servicing the offshore platform. It's about an hour's flight away. First aircraft we went into, the ATR 42, didn't make it off the runway. Second one, yes, we got there. I get there to look at this Beach 1900, cracking flat this long, there's moisture dripping out of it left, right and centre. I said, yeah, I'll write this up, and if the guy who's prepared to accept all this, then I'll issue the export survey. But basically I'm issuing it for an unserviceable airplane, which we eventually did. Vietnam is interesting. The winners of the winners, guys. You should see some of the equipment the Vietnamese military operate in their offshore work. The latest and greatest French helicopters and a few Russian things over here. Interesting events. 3 times redundant. And it wasn't my fault, trust me. This is 3-second pull-up to make sure the engine doesn't go quiet. It did. So auto rotate onto a mud road. There's horses and carts going every which way but loose. Get out, get the crowbar on the way out, tap the start valve. Yeah, try again, start, let's get out of here. These guys are not happy with it. MSRD, which both Richard and I, mobile servicing and repair detachment. I was on one of those in Malaysia, so that's when you go forward the front line and pick up dead things, not people, but helicopters and the like. Richard was in Northern Ireland. Yes. There were still communists in Malaya, even after we declared end of it. And we were finding them, unfortunately, up in the Thai Malay border. Thai. Mount Kinabalu is, I put that as one of my things, it's 13,450 feet or something. So you know you're doing it. You're not climbing it, you're walking it. It's hard work. It's at 95, okay, we set up the company's central control system. So the company's, that's Pearl Aviation, what was it then?
SkyWest.
Was bleeding for whatever reason. And the reason was quite simple. Everyone had a purchase order book, everyone did their own thing. And we were operating in every capital city and a few other places and overseas. How many spare modules we got for the B-17B engine in the Nomads? Excuse me? How come you don't know? Oh, we think we've got. But where are they? Oh, I sent one here, and he sent one there. And that's just one component. Can you imagine it? Starter generators, you name it. Radios, just going to their mates, whatever. So we just clamped down all of that, drew the purchase order pads over the weekend. Richard, myself, local Nev Marshall, a manager called Andy Van Cam, set up a control centre. And if it wasn't fuel or wages, you had to come to one of us if it wasn't normal business. So you want to do an air test? One of us had to say yes, so you had to explain why. Always do an air test after 100 hours. No, that's what you've normally done, that's why we're bleeding. Why do you need to do the air test? You're not listening, we always do it. Oh no, next. 24/7. Oh, the first few months were not pleasant.
Horrendous. Yeah.
We got there though, we got them back in the black, and we created systems that allowed us to then move on to the ISO system of quality control, which is justify what you're doing. Own the problem and be part of the solution by all means, but don't do it just because you've always done it that way, because it doesn't stack up. Maintenance errors. I've made a lot more than this, by the way, just a couple of Well, torque control, I told you about the torques before. There's a scout with the North guided missiles on, and just forward, I don't know if you can actually see it, there's a little module. So these things are innately dangerous for 2 reasons. The North guided missiles and the smoothie flares that sit on the side. Smoothie flares can be set off by one of the VHF channels, which is a channel that they use sometimes. So if you're walking around it on a turnaround, maybe putting another missile on or something, or anything, and the pilot just happens to transmit on that signal, you could end up wearing a smoothie flare, or the chopper next to you could, one of the two. So dangerous that way. You want to fire a north-guided missile, it's a wire-guided missile to target. So you've got to come up above the hedgerow, find it what it is, and the gun and the aimer, the gunner, pilot's got to stay there exposed whilst it goes to target. If that ain't a recipe for disaster, I don't know what it is.
So what's it, trailing
a wire, very thin wire,
Yeah.
all the way to target.
Yeah.
So it couldn't have been huge distances either. So you were close enough to be in harm's way. Did they ever use them anywhere in anger?
Yes.
Where?
Yeah, they were used. They were used in Northern Ireland.
Really?
Yeah. And they were very dangerous because unlike nowadays where they have like a camera thing above the top, so they can actually hide under the trees and look over the top.
Yeah.
As you said, you actually had to have the window up above the level so you could see what you were firing at, and also to make sure your missiles didn't go through the trees. So, yeah.
Early days.
And they were pretty awesome weapons, to be perfectly honest. They worked well.
That hangar's a little wallop. There's another larger helicopter that looks like larger behind it. I have no idea what that is. But these are all Second World War hangars. And this is the hangar I had the skeeter outside. We assembled it in various boxes. Oh, and shoulder wall bay. Okay. Those that don't know helicopters probably don't know what a Jesus nut is, but on the Bell 47 there's one nut holds the main rotor hub on. That nut comes off, you're gone. Held on with a tab washer. Alan here, being Alan, was thinking outside the square, but got the Kellogg's box instead of the Weet-Bix box and made a gasket out there. And of course it bedded in after a few flights. I go to do a daily inspection because the pilot asked me, how quick with this bit of vibration, I'm sure I can feel something. I did a few not, I could get over this nut. You know. The only thing that's holding it on is the tab washer. And I knew why. The frigging gasket was the wrong material. It wasn't made to be crushed because it would settle down a bit more after that. So I'll admit to that. LSLs, so Galahad Salance, I don't know if you know, Falklands War. You see another photograph coming up where they stack everything on there. And there's any wonder when you get an exit set through the side where the troops are, that all hell breaks loose because they're just jamming on there. Okay, this is me when I had hair. That's me bending down. A bit of a whiz with a higher crane. Little story. Bell 47 takes off with a Gurkha in a stretcher pod. A medic next to him on the left as we look at it, and the pilot. Turbocharger failure. So he's on a bit of a hill, hot and horrible. And he's quite high in the Asahan ranges in Malaysia. Comes down, auto rotates, tail hits a survey peg. Gone. Everything stops very quickly. We couldn't actually lift the helicopter on the back of the truck through from the Jesus nut because we were just going to pull everything out. It all let go, even the safety cables. So we had to put a frame, a belt around the frame itself. The only person to be hurt more than when they took off to when we recovered it was the medic who cut his hand coming out through the bubble after everything was stopped. Because it stopped like that, there was no blaze to worry about. It was Cat 3 when we got it, it was Cat 5 when we got it back on the main road.
Good recovery.
Water buffalo. Second World War airport. We're on exercise, practicing to show the communists that we're still tough over guys. The RAF are up on the hill behind us with their Wessex. The RAF regiments guarding the RAF. REME are guarding their helicopters. They don't have anything else. They're not with them. It's just a squadron of helicopters that are there. I cop a bloody 2 to 4 guard duty, and up in that top left-hand corner, behind that fast scout, there's a Second World War graveyard. And our theory was we'd patrol and meet at a different helicopter every time. And we had live rounds, because we knew there were communists in the area. Keep in mind, we're 18, 19 years old. We haven't seen any active service. We're just gung-ho, bloody nothing can kill me, you silly buggers. And we're primarily, we think, technicians anyway. So I get up there by that fast scout. Where's my mate? That's where we're going to meet this time around. Anyway, long story. You have to say, Holt, who goes there, friend or foe, 3 times in 3 languages. What do you reckon your chances of walking away from that would be if it wasn't what it turned out to be? Not good, not in your favour. I put my submachine gun from safe to what I thought was single round, but I actually flipped it onto automatic and let a spray go across the graveyard. Woke up the camp, bloody great water buffalo comes charging out of me. The mate comes from around the corner, pulling up his pants, he's only a dump around here. Net result, extra duties, explain, clean your weapon. Yeah. And the back of the LSL, designed for 1 helicopter. Somehow managed. That's dangerous, by the way, getting 4 of those suckers on there. Get the first one on, fold its blades, put it down the gangway here. Get the second one on, fold its blades, put it down here. Third one on, get as close to this as you can, and the last one lands with its tail over the end. Then you've got to drag it on so you can then pin them down. This is going from Singapore to Borneo to the South China Sea, and at one point close enough to a typhoon. Standing on that deck looking horizontally, I'm either looking at water, even there, or I'm looking at sky. They were very unstable beasts. We used to have to go up there twice a day to make sure they were still secure. It was the only way to get out from underneath. Everyone's spewing and carrying on. I'll do that, thank you. Singapore Harbour, you won't recognise this. I imagine there'll be a fair few more high-rise now. So he's going back to camp after coming off the LSL. One of my claims to fame was to climb Mount Kinabalu, and Kinabalu is just under that coffee stain up there. I walked all the way up there with my Chinese mechanic mate, only to find that my camera wasn't working from about this point up. And he said to me, "Do you want to go back up so we get a photo of you of this?" And well, I know I've been there, that's all I need to know. It was bloody horrible. That cloud coming up there, there's about a 5,000 to 7,000 foot sheer drop down into the canopy the other side. And quite a few years after I was there, the Gurkhas came down, or a small amount, Gurkhas came down from Hong Kong with their British officers, and they were going to walk up the mountain with their full kit, abseil down that, follow the stream out. Yeah, they did the first 2 bits of that. 2 months later they were found. He just went missing. And if you look over there and have a look, you think, yeah, I can see why. All you need is a bit of a flash flood, and what you thought was a stream becomes a torrent river, and you just got to go up a bit. There's a fair few number of helicopters actually mostly smacked into the side of that mountain too. There's a wheels up at Port Hedland. Big mistake. My mistake. Took the company and the insurance company into letting me try and repair that there. Didn't do that too many times. Just lost lots of money, chewed up lots of hours. We did it. But it was just not the way to do it. And your eyes are bigger than your belly, basically. The rest of the fleet wasn't going to hang around. We still had to keep them going. At one point, I had 13 dead aircraft outside. I'm the only layman. Our chief engineer at the time called me up, and it was, I don't know, 8 o'clock at night. I said, "I'm sending everyone home. Why don't you get the apprentice to stand next to you and talk to you? Keep you awake. Why don't you off? We're going to have a beer now, guys. He's just really upset me. It wasn't this one either, it was the predecessor. Strange.
So what did you have to do there? Another engine swap, or did you have to do the bulk strip?
On this? No, we sent the engines away.
On the barrel?
The wheels up landing, as is this. Reason for this was a poorly manufactured brake line. There's a Coast Watch 1124 C-scan, as we call them. So it's got tactical radar, FLIR, tactical systems on board, more comms in that than most military aircraft. And Darwin Airport brake seizes on takeoff, so as it gets just a little bit lighter, it then rubs a big hole in the bottom of the tyre, bang, off it goes. That took many, many months to repair, and people had to come out from Israel. It was a sort of a one-off exercise. Again, massive amounts of lost revenue. Why? Because a brake line had been incorrectly made. So a $20 brake line cost a multi-million-dollar repair and lots of lost revenue. We had 3 days a month to do maintenance on these.
Correct. Yeah, 3 lay days. Yeah.
3 lay days. That was it. We could pull them when we wanted, but we only got 3 a month. This took about 4 months to fix.
Ooh, dear.
Big biggie. Now, you've all seen that. I'm sure most people have seen that, but I actually was in that hangar. I can't say I took that photograph, but I was going to argue on one of the many contracts we had. I popped into this hangar to see if there was some space there. I just gobsmacked when I saw this thing. Again, someone hand starting it got away from me, and then I recalled my little time back in Port Hedland, and I thought, oh shit, you were lucky. That's terrible. Stopped by the mainspring.
How long did it take to repair that one?
Yeah, about 10 minutes for the match to light.
Yeah.
Bit of duct tape.
Now you've got to hand it to the Yanks. They're into serious BS, but they do make good aircraft. This is the Little Rock Beechcraft Commissioning Centre, and of course they're doing 2 Australian import CFAs on site with a bloke called Ron Green, who some of you may know. We got stuck there because we were in the middle of winter and FAA office closed down, so we couldn't get bits of paper to deregister them as American aircraft, so we could bring one to the Australian register. the guys out on the hangar, I think it's, no, that's not the next one, were very worried when it became a VH aircraft, but they couldn't work on it anymore because they got FAA tickets. Let me show you our legislation. Don't worry about your legislation. Let me show you ours, and I'll show you that it allows us to accept your work, your signature. Oh, this is good news. And all they were worried about was putting the VH rego by the doorpost. That was it, because they were going to drill a hole in the machine. They wanted an engineering order for this. Ooh, probably should have that one, anyway. And there's this Blue Mountains wine region. I love these aircraft. None of Richard's helicopters, paint schemes are good. Every aircraft in this fleet has got a different colour, but it's sort of like that camouflage deal. Crop spraying, I presume it's for the wine area there. Beautifully laid out hangar, impeccably maintained, with its own little environmental paint shop. The bee's knees. Okay, who remembers? No, who's seen that? It's a light sport aircraft out at Northern in one of the many hangars. It's just mind-boggling what people will throw in the air. I don't even know what it is. I know it's a light sport because it's 2.4.
It says Sigma on the side.
Sigma 4. You wouldn't catch me in it, look where the prop is. Phew.
Oh, the separator's going to go away from it.
Yeah, that's when it goes down again. I fancy. There's, and this next one, this next one is definitely very current. It's on the news. I was out at Northern,
Nice, Jamie.
Mm.
Right,
Yes.
out at Northern visiting the hangar where this one ended up on top. Oh, these guys could see this sucker coming at them. And then, what are you going to do? Stand there. You go that way, you're wrong, you go that way, you're wrong. They stand there and kiss their ass goodbye, and it stalls onto the roof over the stores. All that roofing is gone, that close to getting written off. The pilot, I think it was a lady, not that that's relevant, but she walked away. That aircraft, I think, is definitely a goner.
yeah, it came back to Jandakot, the Royal Arrow Club bought the wreck
Yeah, but it's gone.
and reduced it to produce.
Yeah, it's the only way to go.
That was the youngest Mooney in the fleet.
Is that right?
Mhm.
Not
All
anymore.
the aeroplanes to bend.
Was this still with it, Richard?
Yeah, little
She stopped
girl,
up the takeoff.
little bit too small, and just simply couldn't push hard enough. And the prop torque, which I've never found to be a problem in the Mooney, the prop torque apparently got a bit too much for her, and then she got a bit worried, got it very, very slow, and it just drifted over the good old Rogers hangar. And
Right next door to the stores where some of it ended up was a big gas tank.
Oh,
I looked down at that. Oh, you were lucky.
But what a spectacular parking spot, Job. She's taken an aeroplane this way, backed it in between the hangars and left it suspended by the wing.
You've got to be impressed. I wonder how she got down on the roof, poor girl.
Sorry?
How much she got down from the roof?
Yeah, she clammed it down all right and turned everything off.
Okay, this is how to make a buck. Frugrey asked me to go out to New Zealand to inspect their aircraft because it was coming back into Australia. It's not a CFA, it's not an audit, nothing. It was a mini audit. So just go and have a look at it. So the client has a duty of care. That's the client that Frugrey is going to work for. That has been inspected by somebody that knows what they're looking at before it comes onto task back in Australia. So they flew me out to Christchurch a few months before it let loose there. I drove the other side of the island to a little airport where this thing was operating, kicked the tyres, went on 3 days holiday. All paid for. Thank you very much.
So what did Fulbury do with that machine?
Mineral service.
Mineral
Yeah,
service,
yeah.
sitting there back here. P6 engine, pretty state. This is a New Zealand thing, isn't it? One of those things.
Yeah, POC. Used to be a Cresco and then it became used to become a Fletcher, then it was a Cresco, and then it was a POC.
Used to have an IR 540 in it.
Okay, so as I was saying before, the winners are winners. North Vietnamese Army run an offshore operation with Russian helicopters to service, I presume, the Russian reefs, and French helicopters to service others. Very, very strict. First world stuff. You'd be hard pushed to fault them. Bob Downer and I have been up there 3 or 4 times to give them the serve for the offshore clients. That's, I think, that was one of the latest large French helicopters, but they'd stuffed it up because none of the platforms on the rigs were built strongly enough to take it at a weight that it would land there at. So they'd get out there, but it couldn't take a full load. It was a bit of a waste. So they had to spend some money out on the rigs themselves before they could actually use it properly for what it was intended for. Or some car stuff, really. Jolly old Saab. This is a Saab graveyard just north of New York. A New Zealand company again, but they had an Australian branch up in Darwin. And they got me to go out and do a pre-purchase inspection and a C of A. Two over here, one in New Zealand and one up in Darwin from memory. So this is what we call a heavy aircraft, of course, because it's more than 38 seats. So that got my ticket from restricted to 38 seats and below for C of A's to any aeroplane. Which is quite a jump, actually. So, frightening. I don't know if I ever want to exercise it, but there you go. These guys just do a total job on them. Paint, strip, do a whole C check. When I'm out there looking under the floor, I'm looking for corrosion under the toilet areas. Obviously a hot spot. I've got a panel up, I've got torch and I'm looking. That's not right. What is that? Oh shit. That shouldn't be there. Someone had dropped the mirror off the end of their inspection mirror rod and left it in the flight controls. So I had that in there. And I pulled it out. Where's the end of that? And somehow something wasn't working upstairs. They then left it. So Alan has to put the diplomat's hat on and say, oh, shit, I'll have someone with balls for this if it's Australia. However, I go back into the guy that's coordinating it. I said, I've got a problem and I think you need to deal with it. I'll show you what it is, then I'm going to go and have a coffee. I think the guy got a career move because he had his name on it.
Oh,
Good.
Nearly there, gents, ladies.
Ah.
Anyone hear about that? Last year? That corporate jet is making love to the toe. Very inappropriate.
Looks expensive.
I imagine it would. Look at the angle, the nose went off the ground. There was another photograph, but it showed too much, so I had to be a bit discreet. That's outside a certain maintenance hangar.
The main wheel looks to be fairly unloaded as well.
Wheels off the ground, nose wheel off the ground. Oh, and this wheel here, yeah.
Yeah.
There was someone on that tug, and luckily it stopped before it got chocks. It had jumped the chocks at full power. Why was he applying full power outside a hangar? There was belief. The noise would have been stupidly high. But he did, and he did pay the consequences. Nasty bit of work. I do know the hangar, I do know the people that were involved, and I don't know who was on the tug, but I reckon he would have changed underwear minimum would have been required. But what was he doing in front of this aircraft whilst it was running up?
Full power.
Well, maybe he wasn't that close when it actually started to run up and jump the chocks, and he thought he was safe distance, but it actually got him. He couldn't react quick enough. Ooh, frightening. And the last one. Thank you for listening. It's my wife who's departed.